The people there knew that there was a danger. They knew there was a threat to President Trump, and it was allowed to happen. Was there a stand-down order, Ms. Cheadle? Was there a conspiracy to kill President Trump?
Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. Well, it's officially official. Kimberly Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, has resigned after an absolute brutal congressional hearing. And saying brutal is putting it lightly. Thankfully, I got the clips here. I'm going to show you some of the most shocking moments from the congressional hearings. And you're going to see, well, Cheadle completely melt under the pressure and show that she was never fit to have this position in the first place. So why was she the director at all? This is telling us that Cheadle was able to resign. She was not fired. This should blow your mind when you know the little that happened or really didn't happen on the day that the assassination attempt on President Trump took place. Now, this isn't about being on a certain side. I don't care who you are, what you look like, what you think you are. None of that. This woman should have been fired. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. There is no other option. In fact, the fact that she wasn't fired proves that there is something much more sinister here, as if we didn't already know that. Before I show you these brutal takes from the congressional hearing, check this out. A whistleblower actually said that the security detail at the rally wasn't even Secret Service, most of them. This is actually from Senator Josh Hawley. DHS assigned unprepared and inexperienced personnel. That would explain this. I guess holstering a gun is too high a standard for a DEI hire? Check this out. I'm not going to read this whole letter, but there are some very key important parts here. Whistleblowers who have direct knowledge of the event have approached my office. The July 13th rally was considered to be a loose security event. What? For example, detection canines were not used to monitor entry and detect threats in the usual manner. Individuals without proper designations were able to gain access to backstage areas. Department personnel did not appropriately police the security buffer around the podium and were also not stationed on regular intervals around the event security's perimeter. In addition, whistleblower allegations suggest the majority of DHS officials were not, in fact, United States Secret Service agents, but instead drawn from the department's Homeland Security investigations. This is especially concerning given that HSI agents were unfamiliar with standard protocols typically used at these types of events. At this loose security protocol event with President Trump, most of the security wasn't even Secret Service. They were ill-equipped, unprepared, not up to the normal standard of who should be protecting a president. Now listen to some of the most brutal takes from this congressional hearing with ex-director Cheadle, who was given the opportunity to resign and not fired. Remember that. Remember, she was not fired. She resigned. Keep that in your mind as you listen to the way she answers some of these questions.
How did a 20-year-old loner with a week's notice pick the absolute best location to assassinate President Trump when the entire Secret Service missed it? Director Cheadle, in your leadership, your agency got outsmarted and outmaneuvered by a 20-year-old. How can we have any confidence that you could stop trained professionals from a nefarious nation state?
Those are absolutely questions that we need to have.
I know they're questions, but the fact of the matter is we can't have that.
Those are questions.
Director, do you have the ability personally, do you have the authority to beef up security of any of your protectees?
Yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
So were you also aware there was a credible threat President Trump was facing? He was facing a heightened security threat to a foreign adversary?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
So given that there was an increased threat to President Trump's life, was he provided a full security complement akin to what a sitting U.S. president would receive?
He was provided a full complement of security based on the threat assessment that we had.
That's not my question.
And the venue.
My question is, if he'd been the sitting president, would he have had the same security he had on July 13th, or would have been beefed up?
There is a difference between the sitting president.
So your answer is he didn't?
and continuity of government and the responsibility
So he
that we
did
have.
not. Okay, there wasn't a CAT team, full CAT team on site.
You have the security detail that's coming out and saying that most of these people actually weren't in Secret Service. A lot of them were ill prepared. They had no idea what they were doing. They should have never been there. In fact, the security was so dumbed down for this particular event, kind of fishy, that it is not standard protocol to have this loose of security and to have essentially a lot of the security detail not Secret Service.
Brylan's team's on site. But this is the thing. You just said you had the ability to beef up the security. You knew about the threat, and you didn't. And that's as telling as it is chilling. We have satellite images from the Butler Fairgrounds. Have you visited the site?
No, I have not.
9 days and you have
Wow.
not visited the site.
Wow.
You should have been there that night. Did you talk to, that evening, did you talk to the team, the heroes that surrounded the president? Did you call them that night?
They were still operational work.
So that's an answer is
protection
no. Did you call them the next day?
President. Yes, I spoke with.
You called them the very next day, not the day of. Or was it 72 hours after?
I don't know the timeline, but I spoke with
Okay,
them
because you're under oath.
immediately
I
following.
think it was 72 hours after. You waited 3 days.
Wow.
What is immediately clear is that there are a number of structures that need to be secured. Of these, Director, other than the first, immediate 4, what's the most dangerous site that should have been secured? Because security 101, you got to mitigate the high ground.
There are a number of structures around that event site.
You know who the shooter knew? The shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have. And he had a drone, and
wow.
he picked the AGR building. So you said, do you remember in an ABC interview you did that you didn't have people on the roof of the AGR building because you were worried about safety because of the slope?
That building in particular has a sloped roof at its highest point. And so, there's a safety factor that would be considered there, that we wouldn't want to put somebody up on a sloped roof.
Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about sloped roofs?
No.
So why'd you act like there was one? So here's this thing with the slopes. You go all the way up to like 1812. You can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat. And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112. And by the way, the 112 is ADA compliant. You can build a ramp for a wheelchair on a 112 roof. So these are nothing but pathetic excuses, and they make no sense, and they're a bunch of cow dung.
Now, I actually covered all that in my video right here. Things are not adding up. Shocking new details. I talk about the sloped roof thing and break all that down, as well as many other things that weren't making sense even before Cheadle went to the congressional hearing. So go check that video out to learn more.
Why was Crooks able to fly a drone over the entire area the day of the rally and the day of his assassination attempt?
To my knowledge, he did not fly the drone over the entire area.
How did he fly a drone over the area, period? Any part of the area?
Again, I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place and when the event.
Why didn't you bring the timeline with you today to answer our questions?
I don't have all of the answers on the timelines based on the criminal investigation.
Were you not prepared today
Wow.
to answer our questions?
I am prepared to answer the questions based on the information and wanted to be able to provide.
Do you have a timeline do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
That's shocking. That is absolutely
Wow.
unacceptable.
And you even hear everybody else in the chamber, like they're laughing because of how absurd that is. She claims to have had a timeline. This is the director of the Secret Service that has a timeline of all the events that happened that day. She's never visited the site. She's never seen it personally. She doesn't have any information on why a drone was flown or why this 20-year-old who was able to outsmart Secret Service and law enforcement. And when all is said and done, 9 days later, she admits that she has a timeline with no specifics. That is bizarre, insanely bizarre. Now listen to how Cheadle responds when she's asked point blank if there was a conspiracy to assassinate President Trump.
The people there knew that there was a danger. They knew there was a threat to President Trump, and it was allowed to happen. Was there a stand-down order, Ms. Cheadle? Was there a conspiracy to kill President Trump?
Absolutely not.
Then how did this happen? And why are you still sitting here not turning in your letter of resignation?
That is what we are investigating to determine.
Well, you heard it, guys. There was no conspiracy. This can pretty much be an open and shut case now. We can move on, and I'm just glad to know the facts now. Now, there was a lot more questioning than this. It was hours and hours of questioning, but you get the point. Listen to Proverbs chapter 3, starting in verse 13 here. It says, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom, and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left hand are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who lay hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called blessed." You know, it is a blessed thing. It is a wonderful thing to obtain wisdom and understanding, to have discernment to what's going on around you, to be able to be wise in your actions and in your decisions. Having wisdom, like it says here, is more profitable than anything else we can obtain in this life. So having the ability to be led in wisdom, which, remember, wisdom and understanding and discernment, these are things that in their full capacity, in the true sense of these words, can only be found when we are led by the Holy Spirit. They are not found in and of ourselves. They are found through Jesus Christ and having a relationship with Him. And then being given the Holy Spirit and led in the truth, led in wisdom and understanding and discernment. And it is in being led by the Spirit that we have the ability to discern right from wrong, truth from false. And in these times that we live in that are so uncertain, some of the absolute craziest times in my lifetime, these last couple months, we can be reassured that things are not out of control, but things are being led by a sovereign God who is being glorified in all things. And we can have the wisdom, knowledge, understanding, discernment, and truth. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button, join this community, I would love to hear from you regularly. And please, hit that thumbs up button. You know, when you like this video, to get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread the truth. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.